Speaker. Ew, so sweet looking. Eve Clark, plumbing tools. Plumbing tools, Eve Clark.
When I was 31 years old, a long time ago, I was looking for a new career. I picked up my local newspaper to look in the want ads. You see, in those days, we didn't have jobs online because in those days, we didn't even have computers. But I found a job that really interests me. It said, Smith Pipe and Steel, downtown Phoenix, looking for showroom and counter sales. I thought, wow, this might work. I went and applied for the job. Yay! I got the job. I was so excited. I went to work the next morning. It was too early for anybody to be in the showroom. I went to the counter, and a real nice salesman walked up and showed me how to fill out an invoice. Along came my first customer, a plumber, and he walked right up to me and he said, I want 100 feet, a half-inch M hard copper. And I gave him one of these, what? Looks, because I had no idea what he was talking about. I marched right over to my boss and I said, I don't know plumbing terms, what do I do? And he said, go in the warehouse, find Johnny, he'll help you. Well, I hightailed it out to the warehouse. I found Johnny, and I told him who I was and what I wanted. And Johnny said, no problem, I'll help you. He was filling an order, and he picked up this big old brass thing, and he called it a downspout nozzle. I looked at it, and I said, that looks like Mick Jagger's tongue. That's when I realized word recognition. If I thought of tongue, I think of downspout nozzle. This will work. On my way home, I drove to the public library. I checked out a book, The History of Plumbing. After dinner, I started browsing through the book, and I saw a chapter on toilets. I figured I'd read this chapter. I found out that Sir John Harrington invented the first pot that used water. Is this where they coined the phrase, I gotta go to the John? And then I found out that Thomas Crapper actually invented the first toilet that flushed. He invented a flush valve. Is this where the phrase came, I gotta go take a crap? And then I got a premonition. If I put them both together, word recognition, I gotta go to the John to take a crap. This is how I can remember these people. I went to work the next morning. I was so excited. I told Johnny all about the toilets. He was excited too. And I said, but Johnny, I want to know how you put fittings together. He said, no problem. I'll show you. He took me over to the warehouse and said, he gave me a male adapter and he gave me a female adapter. And he said, in order to put your male into your female, you have to use lubricated pipe dough. You lather up the male really good. Because you got to turn the male into the female. In other words, you screw the male into the female. And you want a really tight fit. If you don't have a tight fit, then you're going to have some kind of discharge or some kind of seepage coming out of the female. So you want to make sure you have a tight fit. And I looked at Johnny and I said, Johnny, plumbing's perverted. And he said, you want to see perverted? He took me over and showed me a silk cock and a freeze cock. Oh my! And then he said, there's a cock for everything. He showed me that there's a vacuum cock and a bath cock. Wow. And then Johnny handed me a pet cock. And I thought, oh my, how am I going to ask a plumber if he wants a 1/4-inch pet cock or what size cock he actually wants? But I learned how to talk pet cocks to the plumber. Then he showed me a stop cock, and I was wondering, what's that used for? Johnny showed me a gas cock and a lube cock. Yes, I had a great time selling a 6-inch lube cock to a plumber. That was a lot of fun. Remember Thomas Crapper? He invented the ball cock. Yes, there is a cock for everything. But then Johnny said, there's one cock bigger than all the other cocks, because it's called a cock hole cover. You know, on a kitchen sink where you have an extra hole and you don't know what to put in that hole? You put a cock hole cover in, but make sure you tighten that nut really good, because if you don't, you're going to have a lot of problems. You know what? You have to use penetrating oil on that nut and spray that nut really good, because you want to make sure you get your nut off. So make sure that you spray enough penetrating oil on the nut so you can get your nut off. But all in all, I had so much fun sewing plumbing. I learned plumbing terms. I even was talking cocks to all the plumbers. And I did this till I retired. It took me 30 years, and I was a happy camper. Thank you.